Welcome back everyone to the Two-Headed Wolf Gaming channel, last Epoch and the last episode from our Void Knight run, at least for this particular series. And I'm hoping that all the passive and active skill points that we're going to be spending and the gear that we're going to be equipping is going to be the glue which puts together this entire idea. Because right now I have a few problems. For example, Rive is very underwhelming in comparison to all of the other skills which we are running. And I'm really hoping that by the end of it, by the end of this entire investment, we're gonna go north and we're gonna run through a map and pretty much destroy everything. And we can end it in a very exciting manner. I'm really hoping that that is the case. The Void Knight is a very interesting and complex class, which is a really good thing. I really feel like you could spend a lot of time with it. And I am curious what other people have done with this and try to master it. But for now, let's start with the gear. No point in waiting here. I am going to be replacing this ring. I haven't had any luck on rings. I really need to do a bit more research to try to figure out whether this is one of those things where I have been really unlucky or you really need to craft rings. That might be the situation, I don't know. But I'm just throwing this in, losing 14% void resistance because the rest of the bonuses don't matter in order to gain 18% increased critical strike chance. So that's just about it. We have this belt which is going to provide us with a bit more armor and a bit more void resistance. This amulet which is a lot better than what I have right now. The only thing which is valuable from the current amulet is the void damage, the extra void damage and the lightning resistance. Other than that, there's no value there. But at least with this amulet, I'm going to get 10% extra physical damage, 20% increased critical strike chance, chance to ignite, and 34 health. So that is pretty good in itself. Better armor, nothing too special here. Better boots, once again, nothing too special, some health regeneration, some armor on both of these. I have found this idol, which increases damage over time, but more importantly, it gives us 43% increased melee void damage, so that is good for us. I wanted to show you these eagle statues, which I found, these idols. I found this one, which is very tall, and it feels perfect for the paladin. It feels like it's made for that class because it gives us 6 seconds to sigils of hope duration, an ability that the paladin has, and 9% fire penetration with melee attacks, which once again fire damage, something which feels very thematic to the paladin. I found this eagle which has a 3% chance to cast Void Rift on kill and then we're getting some fire damage. I don't know if I'll use it, I'll probably just sell it. 3% chance for Void Rifts is not impressive. And I also found a different shape of eagle, and I guess this is why I kept all of these three together, to show you that there are idols in different shapes and forms, and this one will increase stun duration and 5% per missing health restored on using the lunge ability. Very interesting. Getting some health back when using a traversal skill is definitely useful, but there we have it. And over here, I have a slightly better axe. Let's see if I could upgrade it. And what do I want? Critical strike multiplier, increased stun chance, which we cannot modify. It's not the perfect axe. Poison we don't care for, but we have it. Critical strike multiplier, maybe I care for a bit, but not too much. Mostly I'm going to invest in void damage here. And we'll do another critical strike multiplier here. That removes all the forging potential for this weapon. Going to be better than what we're running with right now, but not over the top perfect weapon. So that's it for gear. Let's spend skill points. And I guess I'll go to passives first. We have 15 points to spend. We're not going to be investing in anything at the moment for the Sentinel. We're going to focus on the Void Knight. And we can get Void Corruption here. Your critical strikes deal more damage for each passive point you have invested in the Void Knight tree. 1% per each point spent in the tree. Don't mind if I do, right? Void Bolts. Throwing void damage plus 2 per point. Spell void damage plus 2 per point. We're not using any kind of throwing abilities nor spells that much. I guess some of these are spells. But I'm mostly focusing on melee, so we're not gonna pick that one up. Dark Maw, whenever you kill an enemy, you have a chance to absorb 5% of its health. We're gonna invest at least 1 point there. Void Blades is related to this ability with Temporal Corruption. I don't really use might. I'm not going to invest any point in here. Patient of Doom or Patient Doom. Every 3 seconds, your next melee attack deals increased damage, excludes movement abilities, 30% per point. Yes, why not? And at this moment, I'm thinking where to invest into next. And I guess the thing that I want the most is more defense. I've been feeling very squishy. And even though Leech might be useful, just getting resistances feels the better choice, plus the extra health there. We have unlocked a new ability, Devouring Orb, creates a Devouring Orb at the target location that casts a Void Reef whenever something dies nearby, dealing void damage to the enemies around the orb. Each successive Reef has 12% more damage and area of effect, capped at 120%. We're gonna use this ability. Abyssal Echoes, I haven't found it to be that useful, at least not without upgrades or anything. Doom Knight, plus 1 strength, plus 5 health per point. Sure. Future Strike. Whenever you hit an enemy, you have a chance to inflict Future Strike. An element that lasts 2 seconds, then deals 60 void damage all at once at the end of its duration. Future Strike counts as damage over time, not as a hit. 10%? Yes, we're gonna invest 1 point there. And then we're once again going to be investing in defenses. We have 5 more points, new skills here. Rot Repulse. Time Rot you inflict lasts longer, and whenever you kill an enemy inflicted with Time Rot, nearby enemies have a chance to be inflicted with Time Rot as well. 5% duration and 70% per point to spread on kill. That's pretty good. Unending. Unending? I think they wanted to say unending there, but maybe it's unending. Unending Hunger, I would say. Dark Maw absorbs more health when it triggers, 1% per point. Not that impressive. Finality. Your melee hits deal increased void damage and instantly kill enemies that are below health threshold. If you have similar effect from an item or passive node, then the highest threshold is used. This one would be impressive for the increased melee void damage there, but because it takes the higher chance to kill, I feel like this one is not as impressive anymore. So we are going to keep investing 4 points, 2 points in Abyssal Endurance and 2 points in Sorrow and Steel. That's going to be it for this side. We're gonna get into Rive, and what I'm going to do now is we're gonna get Reclamation. Rive's third strike leeches damage dealt as health. We're also going to go towards Brutality here. Rive's third strike deals more damage, 15% per point. And I am going to pick Coup de Grace, where Rive's third strike instantly kills enemies below a health threshold, 15%. I feel like this might make Rive actually useful and powerful. Then over here, Recognition, and I am thinking of either going on this side to do some Void Resistance Shred, which would be 1 per point, that could be pretty good. And this one with Resonating Cleave, you cast Abyssal Echoes after using Void Cleave. Abyssal Echo cast this way uses its mana cost. If you want to know that, what Abyssal Echoes is this ability right here. So it's sort of like a poison for the area. I guess that's the best way to put it. Or we could go this way to get Erasing Strikes. And that might not be a bad idea. We get Rift Marker, Void Cleave hits apply critical vulnerability, and Void Cleave has increased critical strike chance. Yes, let's do that. Each stack of critical vulnerability adds an additional 2% chance to be crit, reduce critical strike avoidance by 10, and lasts 4 seconds. I like that. It seems to be stacking up, so we can do at least one there. Champion of the Void, Void Cleave critical strikes deal more damage, and you gain mana with Void Cleave critical strikes. Yes. So now we can get Obliterator. If Void Cleave hits at least one enemy, your next Erasing Strike is always a critical strike, which is pretty good. So we are going to do this, invest a maximum of points on this side, and then as soon as we get our next point, we're gonna go to the right where we get Crushing Ego, or Crushing Echo, Void Cleave deals additional melee void damage. The effect is tripled for echoed void cleaves. On Erasing Strike, let's see, what do we do here? Well, we said that we're going to invest in critical chance, and we're going to pick up Essence of the Void. We get now a 34% chance to get, actually let's get to 68% chance to get Void Essence on crit. I like that a lot. And I am going to maximize base crit chance. After which we do what? We could get this one. When Erasing Strike kills an enemy or hits a boss or a rare enemy, you regain health equal to a percentage of the target's maximum health, which is 1%. That might be useful. Or we could do Void Beam damage increased by 40%. Yes, let's do that one. Because I'm thinking to go for kills to summon Void Beams. But that's something we'll talk about afterwards. And now we're getting into Volatile Reversal. I've been using this panic button so much. Really, I feel like it's the only way in which I have survived more than a dozen deaths. So I'm thinking, well, what can I do with it? On the one hand, we could go here with Incipient Void Rift. When you cast Volatile Reversal, you leave behind the Void Rift, a spell which deals void damage in an area. And many times when I am applying this is basically to get out of trouble, and I feel like leaving behind some damaging spell is going to be very useful to clear the enemies, which are dangerous, right? Then we could get Shifting Power. Volatile Reversal Void Rifts have an increased chance to stun enemies. And you can see there that investing 1 point, we would get a 40% chance to stun. And Global Void Damage versus stun, 10% per point. 40% chance sounds pretty good to me. More damage I don't really care for. We could go to the Terminal Void Rift. When you cast Volatile Reversal, you create a Void Rift where you arrive. So not only are we getting out of trouble there, we will also be getting helped by another Void Rift where we arrive. And I guess we could do this one. Volatile Reversal Void Rift hits have a chance to inflict Time Rot, and I do like that ability. It's an ailment that deals 45 damage, void damage over time, increased stun duration by 5%, and it can stack up many times. Dark Expanse here, where we have increased Void Rift area. I think we're gonna do that just to help us along the way, and there we have it. We spent a bit of points and a bit of time just upgrading this, but right now, in theory, we should feel like a god. We should feel like an absolute beast, and we should maul through these enemies. That's what I'm hoping. I really hope it's coming together. And we're gonna start by going through these enemies.
Stand down or die.
Okay, so far so good. Drive is not a perfect ability. It's still not perfect. It still doesn't have a lot. I mean, if I'm using Erasing Strike, that feels super powerful. Drive, I've seen a 750 crit there, so I guess it's not the worst thing. We've upgraded once again the what is called Volatile Reversal. It's now on boost until level 10. So I am going to go, since we do have area already. Let's see, time sap. You have a chance to recover a percentage of Volatile's reversal remaining cooldown when you kill an enemy or when you hit a boss or rare enemy. Okay, getting out of trouble quicker, or at least have the opportunity to get out of trouble quicker. Let's try to take out these minions with their elemental damage. As you can see, I am a lot squishier. And I should be trying out the ability which we've seen earlier. with the orb. I think one of the things which might also have worked better for this character is to start investing into some stun. I do have a 79% stun, which is good, but it's not perfect. Let's see, on passives we have new skills. Renouncement, you gain additional vitality and smite, now gains spell void damage per point of vitality, but no longer gains increased damage per point of attunement. We could go with Woe, you deal increased melee damage and you have increased armor and void damage if you have killed an enemy with a melee attack. Okay, that's useful. Rot Grip, your melee attack have a chance to inflict enemies with time rot, and I think this is good. Null Velocity, whenever you use an ability that reduces your mana below 0, you are granted haste for a duration. Interesting ability, not something I want. I will apply time rot using our melee attacks. This will make Rive even more useful.
This square. I wish I'd seen it. I can only imagine how she feels.
But you can see early attacks with Rive here. They're not super impressive. And I'm not sure what is about it. Maybe I haven't stacked up enough damage on it. Maybe it's better with a certain heal, a certain character. If you have any kind of solution, if you have any kind of idea, maybe you've made Rive work in a way that I haven't, let me know. I would be very curious to learn from you as well. And let's try the Devouring Orb ability. Okay, it's a small orb there. I really thought it would be more impressive than this one. So we have to cast that and maybe take out the enemies? Yeah, in order to create a Void Rift. Okay. Well, let's gather a bit of a mob. Do this, I do that. Okay, I don't see the Devouring Orb ability as being something useful. At least not as a standalone skill. Maybe upgraded, a bit more impressive. But at this point I'm going to go with Abyssal Echoes there. Time loss vitality. Volatile's reversal has a significant shorter cooldown but no longer restores health. Not something that I want. You gain increased attacks and cast speed after casting Volatile Reversal. Interesting. You can get some movement speed. But I guess we could go with a little bit more area of effect. Sure. Let's go with increased area of effect. We're gathering enemies, then I'm gonna do this big hit. Have you seen the damage? 4,000? Yep, almost 5,000. Which is why I'm feeling so... I guess that's why I hate Rive so much as an ability. It's not going super well. In comparison, at least. I'm doing one of these hits and I'm instantly killing the enemies, and Rive does not add anything to it. We're gonna make another experiment here at the end of this episode, or towards the end of this episode. We're gonna be paying attention at what's the impact of the next modification which I'm making. Okay, Let me try to go through time. And you can see that when we're fighting bosses by themselves, they're not dangerous at all. They don't really possess any kind of threat towards us. However, when we are fighting mobs, especially ones which do elemental damage, it's a very different story. We get melted. We are on the side of, instead of dishing the damage, we are the ones who are getting absolutely wrecked. And so, a bit unfortunate, but what can you do? And let's make one big change. Maybe that is going to help us in the long run. I am going to go here to active skills. We're going to respec out of this. Yes, we're going to despecialize. And I am going to throw in vengeance. I feel like this might be the right choice. I am going to be investing 2 points here. Right, we have Essence of Revenge and Essence of Vindication. I am going to go then, I think we're going to go left here. Rather than getting this additional riposte, we're going to go with Executioner. Get Blade Assault. When you hit an enemy with Vengeance, you have a chance to attack with Iron Blade. Iron Blade being a melee attack that releases a sword that pierces through enemies, dealing physical damage. Its damage does not scale with nodes on this tree unless stated otherwise. Then we can get a combo riposte. When you hit an enemy with riposte, you have a chance to also attack with Iron Blade. You can get Vital Puncture here, double damage chance. So we're mixing and matching maybe this way. That's what I'm thinking about right now. Sure. So what I'm going to do, or we could remove crits. That could also be good. But no, let's go this way. And let's try it out. Vengeance. So at this point I'm not doing a huge amount of damage, but one thing that I'm doing is getting Void Essence. So that is a chance, there is a chance there that that's what's going to happen. Maybe I should be getting an extra essence, an extra riposte for a bigger chance to get essence. I'll look at that. So we had 3 of these void essences, and what happened there is that it increased our damage when we did the erasing strike. There is a huge damage difference. We're doing 189 damage. The Rive skill definitely increased the amount of damage we did in comparison. So maybe it's not all bad, not exactly like I thought it was. But since Rive felt like one of those skills which wasn't useful. Okay. Hi, Snake Lady. We're going to invest further into, what did I say, this one? Increase armor on melee kill? Sure, let's get that modifier as well. And so my hopes right now is that we're gonna use Vengeance to get enough essences so that we can constantly use Erasing Strike, and I have a bit of increase. Damage mitigation, survivability, that's the word. And maybe that is the case. Remember when we started, as we looked at the character and what it had to offer, we said, hey, we're starting from a melee fighter with physical damage, and we're moving towards void damage with a lot of skills which actually are spells. So with that in mind, maybe that's where the true value of this class lies. Maybe I should have invested more in spells. That is definitely an experiment to try in the future. Ooh. That was pretty bad there. Let's see. Better armor, an extra lunge. Yeah, better armor overall. We're gonna use it. This is an interesting axe as well. Increases damage over time, but it reduces our void damage. So as we're heading towards the end here, what do I think?
Stand down or die.
What do I think about this class? Yeah, let's get the extra repose there. It's definitely impressive. It's complex. I feel like the Paladin class is a lot clearer in what you can do and easier to scale up. This one has mechanics which I feel might be super strong, but only in the situation that you try to figure out a way in which you can have those effects happen very often, like void rifts, like the spires, whatever they're called, those beams which you leave behind. I guess there's a lot of that in its mechanics, and maybe this is why it didn't really work perfectly with either Rive, and I'm guessing now with Vengeance. Not the perfect way, but look at this. At least we're on maximum essences all the time. So that Vengeance is working well, which allows us to do a lot more void damage and a lot more melee damage using Erasing Strike. I mean, we're doing 3500 damage using Erasing Strike, and we are doing pretty well with Cleave as well. We're killing a lot of the enemies in the process. So I guess it's not all lost. We've made a good care. Let me draw a conclusion. Let's try to put it in shorter words. We have created a single shot character, a sniper, right? A big DPS. We are very squishy at this point in the way that we build ourselves. We have only one valuable attack skill, which is actually Raising Strike. We have a decent reversal skill with Cleave, which also clears some of the squishier enemies. We have a good panic button with Volatile Reversal, but I can't say that I've been using it to the best of its value. And respecing into Vengeance seems to be the right choice here, because we're getting at least a buff, together with the critical strikes that we have from Erasing Strike, in order to increase our damage, especially for Erasing Strike, even further. So that's what this is good for, this is what we've built. Is it the perfect character? In my opinion right now, with the early equipment, we're talking about early equipment with nothing legendary, nothing taken from the end game and brought into the early game. So we're just talking about fresh from the start character. I feel it's not the strongest. I think that is the case. In the way that I have created it, it has potential, it's definitely something there. It's super strong, it's very high DPS. However, it doesn't feel as good to play. Yesterday, I think I've ended the episode, or I've said at some point during the episode, whether I recommend this class, the Paladin class, for a new player, for a solo player. And I would say yes, it's great for a new player. There's so much that you can do. You can play around with plenty of mechanics in which, whatever direction you go towards, you're gonna feel pretty great. If you do party play, I'm sure it's going to be even more awesome, because there were plenty of skills on that side as well. For the Void Knight, I would say that this might not be the experience that you want for a new player, or someone who has never played ARPGs before, because it is complex. That's my opinion for right now. This might change later on as we're gaining more experience with the game and with the class, and more ideas pop up. I feel like this is sort of a more complex class for a more advanced player, for someone who knows what to do with it. But it's this, at the same time, it's one of the most unique classes which I've seen for a melee warrior. I am not sad I've tried this class out. I am sad that I didn't manage to make the most amazing build or the most exciting build that I thought it would be. Still, if I can close this episode with one thing, is by gathering this mob and doing a huge erasing strike on it. Just like that. That looks cool, that feels powerful. I absolutely loved this erasing attack, and yeah, hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, do consider leaving a like, as it does help me, helps the channel grow. Subscribe to see more. If you're curious about when a class you're interested in will pop up, look down in the description below, you will find it all there. And if you have any feedback for this series, as this is a new idea that I'm trying out and I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on it, let me know down in the comments below. Until next time, until tomorrow, when we try our dual wield throwing Sentinel towards Forge Guard, I wish you all to have a wonderful day.